They thought he was just another tired commercial pilot, until the radio whispered the one call sign no one expected: Ghost Rider. Some names were meant to stay buried, but that evening, at 30,000 feet, the past Claudets, way back into the sky. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. No one on Flight 780 knew the man in the left seat carried a history darker than the thunder clouds collecting on the horizon. To the passengers, he was just Captain Ethan Cole, a quiet, single father who smiled politely, flew gently, and wore a ring around his neck instead of on his finger. But to the few who knew the truth, he had once been something else, something dangerous, something legendary. Yet Ethan had sworn he was done with that world. No jets, no call signs, no ghosts. But storms have a way of dragging old shadows back to life. The first crackle on the radio came just as Flight 782 crossed into restricted airspace. The airline normally avoided a diversion forced by weather, nothing unusual, except for what followed. A sharp voice cut through the static. Unidentified commercial aircraft. Respond immediately. You are entering Bravo 9. Identify yourself. Ethan stiffened. His co-pilot glanced at him. They're edgy tonight. Maybe just doing their job, Ethan said, though something inside him tightened, a knot he thought he'd buried years ago. He answered professionally, calm, clear. But then another voice slipped into the channel, deeper, older, almost disbelieving. Hold position. That voice, run that again. Who's the pilot of 782? Ethan froze. He knew that voice, and the voice knew him. State your name, the radio demanded, authority sharpening every syllable. This is F-22 to command. Identify yourself now. His co-pilot frowned. Why do they need your name? Ethan's throat felt dry. He keyed the mic. This is Captain Ethan Cole. A beat of silence. Then the reply dropped like a stone into still water. Ghost Rider, is that you? The air in the cockpit seemed to stop moving. Ethan's fingers hovered over the throttle. He hadn't heard that call sign in 6 years. He had sworn no one ever would again. His co-pilot whispered, Ghost Rider, what is going on? Ethan didn't answer, because he wasn't sure if the truth would calm the man beside him or terrify him. Outside the windows, two glints of silver sliced through the clouds. F-22 Raptors emerging like predators from mist, angling closer, forming up tight with the commercial jet. Passengers began pressing their faces to windows, murmuring, taking photos. Confusion building like a low tremor through the cabin. Ethan felt it too, the shift in the air, the pressure of old memories pressing against his ribs. Maintain current heading, the lead Raptor instructed. Ghost Rider. Command wants to speak with you directly. Ghost Rider. The name he earned the day everything changed. The day he lost his wife. The day he left the Air Force for good and swore never to look back. A day that still lived behind his eyes every night he struggled to sleep. He thought he had escaped that world. He thought he could raise his daughter in peace. He was wrong. Static clicked, then a calm, authoritative voice came through. The kind of voice used only in rare, catastrophic circumstances. Ethan, if it's really you, we need your help. His co-pilot blinked. Your help? What could they possibly need from a commercial pilot? Ethan hesitated before replying. Something must be very, very wrong. He wasn't mistaken. A new message crackled in. We've lost control of an unmanned military drone. It's drifting towards civilian airspace. We need someone with your skill set. Ethan felt his stomach drop. He had helped design part of the drone's emergency protocols during his classified years. Very few people alive knew how to override them mid-flight, and none of them were airborne at this exact moment. A micro cliffhanger tightened around the cockpit. If he refused, thousands could die. If he accepted, his past would expose itself like an open wound. His daughter's face flashed in his mind, her smile, her trust, the bedtime whisper, Daddy, you always keep people safe. He breathed in, slow, heavy. Patch me through, he said. The F-22s adjusted formation, signaling approval. Below, passengers whispered in the aisles, some frightened, some thrilled. A few recorded shaky videos, narrating theories about UFOs. Hijackings, military escorts. Flight attendants tried keeping people calm. But the energy had shifted, the way a neighborhood grows still before a tornado. Sensing something enormous about to break open, then the real tension began. A deep rumble trembled through Flight 782, not from the engines, from the sky itself. As a massive shadow passed below, the rogue drone, a beast of metal the size of a private jet, drifting to fast, to low, its course unpredictable. Ethan spoke into the radio. Telemetry, unstable, it's losing altitude. Override pathways, locked. He closed his eyes for half a second, remembering diagrams, wires, fail-safes he hoped he'd never see again. When he opened them, the calm returned, the calm he hoped he had buried with Ghost Rider, the calm of someone built for impossible missions. Raptors, he said, voice steady, guide me in. I can piggyback our aircraft's frequency onto the drone's emergency loop, but I need to get within visual alignment. Ghost Rider. The F-22 leader replied, we've got your back. The drone lurched right, dipping dangerously. The Raptors dove after it. Ethan followed, tilting a commercial jet in a maneuver no airline manual had ever approved. Oxygen masks rattled, a drink cart rolled, a baby cried, a woman prayed aloud. The whole plane felt the shift, the sense that something extraordinary, terrifying, heroic was unfolding beyond their windows. The drone's tail flickered, then jerked. Ethan exhaled. Closer, closer. His co-pilot stared at him. Have you done this before? Ethan's voice carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken memories. Yes, the radio crackled. If you missed the frequency lock, the drone could detonate. He nodded once. I know. He reached for the console, steadying his hand, not because he was afraid, but because he knew what was at stake. He tuned the frequency, waited for the seconds to align. Then a piercing tone filled the cockpit. Override accepted. The system announced. The drone's lights blinked, its flight path stabilized. A long breath seemed to escape the entire sky. Passengers began to cheer, confused but grateful. Someone yelled, "The pilot saved us." Another shouted, "Give that man a medal." But Ethan wasn't thinking about praise. He was thinking about his daughter, her safety, her future, and whether this moment meant the military would come knocking on his door again. Because deep down, he sensed the truth. Some ghosts don't stay buried. The F-22 leader radioed in. Ghost Rider, you did it. Command wants to debrief after landing. Ethan forced a polite tone. Tell Command I'm retired. A pause, then the Raptor pilot replied quietly, not anymore, and not after today. For the first time in years, Ethan felt the old conflict pulling at him again. Duty versus the life he built for his daughter. The moral tension cut deep, sharper than turbulence, sharper than fear. Would stepping back into that world protect her, or destroy everything he'd built? When Flight 780 finally touched down, emergency vehicles lined the runway. Not in alarm, but in reverence. Crowds gathered outside the terminal, murmuring, filming, cheering without knowing the full truth. They sensed they'd witnessed something rare, the moment an ordinary man revealed the extraordinary beneath. The Raptors streaked overhead in a final salute, their shadows passing across the runway like a wave. Ethan watched them go, feeling both the weight and release of something long held inside. At baggage claim, his daughter rushed into his arms, unaware of the danger he had just kept from her. "Daddy," she laughed. "Why is everyone staring at you?" He smiled softly. "Because sometimes people surprise you." She tilted her head. "Did you help somebody again?" He hugged her tighter. "Yes, and I always will." As they walked toward the exit, his co-pilot approached quietly. "Ethan, whatever you used to be, I'm glad you were here today." Ethan nodded. "Me too. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And sometimes, fate whispers a name on the radio not to reopen old wounds, but to remind the world who someone truly is." If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful human stories like this one.